It's now time for the political analysis of Fromm and Fuller. Al Fromm, former political advisor to President Bill Clinton, and Craig Fuller, former political advisor to both President Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Good morning, all. Al, it's been an extraordinary time in American life since we last spoke. On Friday, the country was told that President Trump had contracted COVID-19 and had been sent to Walter Reed Hospital for medical treatment. Within 3 days, the president said he had been cured and returned to the White House in a rather dramatic fashion, including the symbolic removal of his mask. And yet the vast majority of medical experts say it's far too early for anyone, including the president, to recover that quickly, and suggests that the White House physician has been less than transparent on the president's condition. That's a lot to digest with only a few weeks left in the election. Can you break this down for us?
Well, that's a big question. Let's start with the government. Here's an administration that has mishandled the pandemic for nearly 9 months, and right now it's even more dysfunctional. The White House is a COVID hotspot. I heard this morning that there are more than 24 cases in the White House. I'm up in Beacon, New York this week, and that's 3 times the number of cases in the city. Nobody can work in the White House now. Aides have to go in to see the president in protective gear from head to toe. They look like spacemen. The president, who's never been a paragon of truth with us on the coronavirus, is now, I think, delusional. Military leaders are in quarantine. I just pray that we don't have a crisis that requires an all-out government response. Second, the behavior of the president is just plain despicable. It's not a word I use lightly. We have no idea what his real condition is because neither he nor his doctors have been candid with us. He and the White House are now super spreaders of this dreaded disease. He won't even say when he last tested negative, which implies to me that he very well could have been positive during the last debate. He clearly has utter disregard for the health and safety of the Secret Service, his White House staff, anybody who comes in contact with him. He continues to defy medical experts by taking off his mask in the show of some sort of bravado, I guess. And these videos, I mean, yesterday he was like a cartoon character. He reminded me of my old 1967 two-tone Chevy because he had so much makeup on that his face was two-tone. He tells us that it's a blessing in disguise, or a blessing that he was infected because he came up with the cure. That's more like Bugs Bunny than a president. And, tell the families of 210,000 dead Americans that it's a blessing to be infected by this disease. I mean, it's really despicable. And finally, the campaign. Basically, the bottom's dropped out. He's been behind all year, but since that crazy debate performance last week, his polling numbers have dropped like a stone. I just looked this morning, and in the last 12 national polls, he's down by more than 10% on average. The same trend and widening are in the battleground states. And that's not likely to change because this election has been a referendum on him. It's even more of a referendum now on his performance. And he loses on all the issues that matter: coronavirus, race, the economy. I don't see how it gets any better for him.
Craig?
This almost transcends politics for me. I agree with Al. The president is doing himself no favors. But not to be too harsh, in our society, when people present themselves as a risk to themselves and to others, we often commit them. And that is exactly what he's doing. He is continuing to risk the lives of the people around him. He's putting his own health at risk. The announcement today that he was not going to debate in a virtual setting. He wanted to be in the arena, so to speak, with Biden and with others and with an audience. It's just mindless. This is somebody who could not get on a commercial airline given his condition today. Could not go into a restaurant today. If you wouldn't willingly enter a room with him, and yet he seems to believe he somehow can defy all of the medical advice and all the wisdom we have about what this disease does to people. So I'm at a loss. I think the American people probably react in the very way that Al has reacted and that I'm reacting, that this makes no sense to them. It's not consistent with the reality we know to be true today.
Might as well move on to the VP debate. And who would have thought that a fly would be the most important element of it? But I would like to get your perspectives on this. I'll start with Craig.
Well, the first point, I suppose, is, will this matter? That's the question that's always asked. And because both of them, I think, handle themselves reasonably well, I'll come back to that in a minute. I don't know that it matters a lot. I will say this: had it not gone well, especially for Kamala Harris, it would matter a whole lot, because it would cause concern among those independent voters about whom I always speak. And I think for them last night, a couple of things happened. First of all, for many, this was a chance to be introduced to Kamala Harris. And I thought she did a relatively effective job at finding a way to weave her record in, and that's positive. Things like, I sit on the intelligence committee and I've traveled throughout the world, say to that undecided voter, hey, wait a second, I'm ready. I am capable of leading the country if I have to, and I'm frankly just as good and just as knowledgeable as you, Mr. Vice President. And she did it, I think, in an effective way without being confrontational. I think clearly people saw that she was articulate, she understands issues. I thought the technique of letting the moderator be the moderator and not trying to be, police who got more time was also, I'm sure, calculated, but also very effective. So she did not come across as some, controlling kind of person. Mike Pence honestly disappointed me, not in the way in which he conducted the debate, in the sense that I think stylistically it was so much better than President Trump, but during the course of the debate, and certainly in the aftermath, which is where most people learn about these debates, so much of what he said was not true. So his message was delivered in a more effective, reasoned way, but the messages were many times false. And I think that's not reassuring to voters. And at the very end, I kind of apply the what I call the just for lunch test. In other words, if you're an undecided voter and you have the opportunity to just have lunch with one or the other of these two people, who's most interesting to you? And I think on that score, Kamala Harris wins.
Al, can you weigh in on that?
I think that vice presidential debates seldom mean much, and I don't think this one was an exception. As Craig said, Kamala Harris did what she needed to do. She needed to show that she belonged on the national stage, and she did that very well. Pence had a very difficult challenge. He had to change the dynamic of a race that is rapidly getting out of control for his side. And I think he failed to do that. And the big reason is because he had nothing to say. I mean, on the issues that people care about, the Trump administration has had a disastrous record and there's no defense. As Craig said, he's smoother than President Trump, but he certainly in this debate was no more truthful. Uh, you know, if you think about what he had to do, he had to change the direction of the race among a number of categories: women, college educated, people of color, seniors. And I think he failed to do that on all counts. The CNN did an instant poll after the debate, and a lot of times this really could have been done before the debate because people's opinions don't change. But Harris won that poll 59-38. She won 69-30 among women. She won 75-22 among people of color, 64-32 among white college graduates, and even among seniors, she won 52-44. Her favorability after the debate among the people who watched it was 63-34 positive. His was 41-58 negative. And by 63-36, watchers found her qualified. So, you know, I just don't think the debate changed anything. It sort of reinforced the idea that she was qualified, and that's important because, as Craig said, it was her introduction on the national stage to a lot of people. But overall, I don't think it changed anything, and that's good for Biden and Harris.
Craig Fuller, Al Fromm, thanks a lot. See you next time.